Hello and welcome. My name is John Lee from Dashboard Dudes. I'm the main dude, and welcome to my Domopalooza course. If data is like cooking, here's how to keep a clean kitchen. Now, what you can probably tell from the title is that I love two things: data and cooking. That's all I got going for me. I have yet to experience human love, but that's why ChatGPT is there. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I used to be a management consultant. I was crunching numbers, doing a lot of stuff in Excel back then. I went from management consulting to corporate world where I worked for a bunch of different companies. And eventually I got into dashboarding. And I have been using Domo since 2016. So a very long time. And I just learned it all myself. So my job is to show you some tips and tricks that have helped me since then that have made me very efficient and things that I wish that I knew back then in 2016 that would have made my ramp up in learning much, much, much faster. So I'm going to go over those with you today. Specifically, we're going over three things: naming conventions. You're going to see how I do it, why do I do it, in the standard way that I use naming conventions in data sets, ETL outputs, etc. The second thing, tagging. Again, how I do it, why I do it. And the third thing is ETL cleanup. How do we keep a clean ETL and why is that important? In addition, we're going to make this fun. We're going to parallel this with cooking a grilled cheese. You're going to watch me cook a grilled cheese as I'm talking about this. And if you hate what I'm talking about with data, at least you're going to get a grilled cheese out of it. So who is this class for? This class is for the major domos of the organization. It's for those who are going to be really managing Domo, the admins, making sure everything is nice and succinct and clean and organized. And there's a big, big payoff of this that you're going to see all the way at the end of this course. But I'll tell you right now, the big payoff is that if you can make things more organized and efficient, it makes life easier, faster to find files, faster to move around, faster to find discrepancies when you need to fix them. And that's why we organize. And that's what this whole class is going to teach you. Also, I'm going to have a link for you where you can watch the whole video so you don't have to worry about measurements, all that stuff. You can get all that info later. Now, in addition to everything you're learning today, I have a gift for you, for coming to my class. So I have this secret page as a thank you for attending my Domopalooza class. Now, in this page, what I have here is I have some formulas that I use to make life much easier for myself here. So for instance, if I click this, I have a list of here's how to round every date to a specific month. And I color code it so that you can see exactly which parts correspond to which. And you can see there are a bunch of different formulas that I have here. In addition, though, this is the real one right here, is I am crazy and I did all chart types. So do you ever go to a Chinese restaurant and you see the menu that has all the pictures of the food? That's basically what I did. And I have every single chart type that you can use in Domo. And that way, when you're designing your dashboard, you have a gallery and a glossary of what to look for and to use it for your design. So for instance, you can hover over any one of these and they'll expand. Or if you really want to see something like this waterfall, you could just click it and now you'll be able to see it in full depth. All right, the first thing we're going to go over is naming conventions. This is very important. If you work with me, you know that I am a stickler for this. Why does this matter? If people are just naming things however they want, it's very hard to be organized, very hard to be consistent. I'll give you a story. I have a client that I used to work with, and when they would make ETLs, they didn't even name them. They didn't name the ETL. And every ETL was just new ETL transform. That was it. It wasn't even transform 1, 2, 3, 4. It was just new ETL transform. So now if something broke and I had to go look, it was so difficult to know what ETL was I supposed to look for. Very tricky. Another issue is that if we don't have a standard naming convention, it's hard for our eyes to move and understand what is happening here. It's just wild, wild west, right? And here is my solution for that. As you can see here, all of my outputs have this standard naming convention. So here is how I do it. I'll open one up and I'll show you. Let's go to this one, the sample data. So I go here and I say edit name and description. Here's how I do everything. organization, colon, what's my organization? Is it sales, marketing, finance? Is it a client if I'm using it for a client? Is it whatever you want it to be? But that's my main one, organization. Space, pipe. This pipe symbol, by the way, is a vertical line. It's not an L. It's a vertical line that's right above the enter key on your keyboard. So if you hold shift and that key, you'll get this vertical line. Space, source, capital S in source, write whatever you want, like Google Ads, Google Analytics, comma, Google Sheets, comma, whatever, space, pipe again, and then whatever you want to call this thing. So for instance, this one is saying organization, Domopalooza. That's what I know the grouping is for. The source is sample data because this comes from Domo's sample data engine. And what is it? It's Facebook ads. And this standard is going to be very, very, very important. This is how I do it. There's a huge payoff that we're going to see at the end where you can make an internal dashboard. You could say, hey, show me the organization after this word organization and right before pipe. And that's how we're going to be able to know how many rows are going to which different groups, clients, organizations, departments, etc. But keeping this standard format is going to be very helpful. Another thing that I do, I don't use shorthand. So if it's GA, I'm writing Google Analytics because does GA mean Google Analytics or Google Ads? To marketers, we might say, oh, of course GA means Google Analytics. But let's say you bring someone new in. They might not know that. If you use shorthand, it's going to be really difficult. Another part is I've seen this before where people will put the letters NB for non-brand, for instance. You might know that. It might be short for you. It's going to cause confusion for somebody new coming in. So we want to be very clean, very consistent every single time. So this is my naming convention again. Organization, colon, space, whatever your organization / department / client name is, whatever, space, pipe, space, source, write the source, comma, put as many sources you need to in there, space, pipe, space, and then whatever you want. That's our first one, naming conventions. Again, it'll make life easier. So how does this apply to cooking? Let's go take a look. So this is my pantry right here. If I were to ask you, hey, where is my bread flour? Where would you find it? You're probably scanning, looking, and maybe you see it. You probably do see it, right? But it would be much easier if I had some naming conventions. Now you know exactly where to look. The bottom section is where flowers. So yes, you could have found it just like you could have found a data set if you dug for it or maybe got lucky. But if you have a standard naming convention, it's just like this. It shows you where exactly you need to look to go find that data set. Okay, the second thing we're going to go over is tagging. This stuff right here. Why do I care about this? I am also a huge stickler for tagging. So I'm going to go to add tag. You'd be surprised for the number of clients that I have or that I've helped. They don't have tagging in place, and it's an underrated tool that you have at your disposal. So the reason why we want to do tagging is because it's going to make our lives easier. If I go to data at the top right here, and let's say I'm looking for all these data sets right here, and I want to find something that is training. Cool. Well, I see everything in here where the organization deals with training. Sure, but what if I really want Google Sheets? Well, I could go to add filter. I could do type and I could do Google Sheets and I get my 3 that are Google Sheets. Sure. But what if I wanted anything that had the word training and Google Sheets in it? Ugh. How do I do that? What if I have some outputs that are Google Sheets like this? What if I want that? Right? This is where tagging can help us. If I go here and I say tag and I look for training, now I actually get all my 6 data sets that have training in it. Now what I can do too, that have the tag training specifically, now what I could do too is I could say, hey, you know what? I really only need the email one. Boom. And I could filter it down faster. So the reason why we want to do tagging is because it's going to make you faster when you're looking for data sets. And this is very, very important because I guarantee what's going to happen is you might make an ETL to make a data output to then make a bunch of dashboards from it. But if you have to change something and go back, and if you happen to have data sets that are not named the best, tagging will be your friend. It'll help you find things much, much, much faster. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. you pull in your data, just spend that extra 30 seconds, do a tag. Let me show you how I do tagging. So I'm going to go to add tag. If you can see here, every single thing that I have here is lowercase. The reason is because if you were to type in Google Sheets with a capital G, it's going to be seen as a separate tag. And I don't want duplicates. I don't want a lowercase Google Sheets and an uppercase Google Sheet. Just make them all lowercase, be done with it. Another thing I'm trying not to do here is put shorthand. I'm not putting GA. I'm putting Google Analytics, stuff like that. You want to be kind of specific with the tags, and you want it to be descriptive enough so that you might get it, but if someone else is new to Domo and to your organization, they're going to be able to find what they're looking for easily using the tags. Now, if you're wondering, well, hey, I really don't want to go through each of these data sets and tag them all over. That would be terrible. I have too many data sets. There's a faster way to do this. I got you. That's why I'm here. If I were to type training again for every single thing, right? And let's say I wanted all of these to have the tag training. Now, if I go to tag, I can see I only have 6 that have training. Okay, here's a faster way to do it. I click one, say select all, hit this tag icon right here. And now I can say training if I wanted to. That, hit save. Don't worry, if it's already there, it will just override itself. And now, instead of me typing in, hey, what are all those data sets that have training? Instead of me typing in the word training, I can just go to tag. And there are my 16 in training. And now if I want to say, hey, you know what? I really just want to do that tag of training and anything that's a Google Sheet. Boom, done. Look how much faster that is than having to type and think and try to figure out what was something named. Much, much, much easier. So how does this apply to our grilled cheese? If I were to ask you, hey, which one of these containers is bread flour? Which one is it? Get it? Yeah, so maybe, but if I show you that I have a tag on there ready, it makes it much easier. All-purpose flour, bread flour, sugar. That tag alone can help you out. You might have seen flour versus sugar, but I bet you didn't know bread flour from all-purpose flour from the back of the container. That's how the tag is going to help us. It lets us move much faster to be much more accurate. All right, our third lesson is on keeping a clean kitchen, clean ETLs. So I'm going to show you something. I always say that data is a lot like cooking, right? Let me show you this. If I go to data at the top here, Domo, what's really good about Domo is this library of connectors. I'd like you to think about something that you cook. Think about your favorite thing to make. Now, think about all the ingredients that you need. Domo has literally 1,000 of these connectors. Are you going to use all of them? Obviously not. But check this out. I'm a marketing guy. So if I were to type in LinkedIn, I got 2, right? I got organic, I got paid. If I were to type in Google, I got a bunch I'm going to use here. Google Sheets, Google Ads, Google Analytics, search queries in here. So that's 4. And then I got my 2, so I'm at 6. If I were to type in Facebook, I have organic and social, organic and paid, 8. And then if I do Instagram, I got another one, 7. My point though is in 10 seconds, I named about like 9-ish connectors. 9 out of 1,000, not that big a deal. With some other competitor products like Tableau and Power BI, they have about 80 connectors. 9 out of 80, a huge deal. So while you're not going to use 1,000 ingredients, you have them at your disposal. You can make a lot more things. So that's just gathering our ingredients for whatever we're going to cook. Right here, the ETL, this is the actual kitchen. This is what we're going to start using our ingredients for. So how I say this is on the left-hand side here, these are all my tools I have in the kitchen. I have a stand mixer, an oven, a cutting board, knife, all these things in here, right? And what you want to do when you cook, I love cooking, and there's this term, mise en place, which means put everything in place, basically. And you want to have everything kind of prepped and ready to go. So the same is going to apply for our ETLs. Have it ready to go. And how do we know what's ready to go in terms of our ingredients, our inputs? Tagging. So if I were to pull this in here, this input data set, choose this. If I'm searching around and bumbling, it's a little tricky to kind of move. But if I go here, I say tag, and I say I want to find training. And you know what I want to also put in? I want to put in, I don't know, Google Sheets. Boom, I have my ingredients ready to go. I'm going to line them all up. So another thing that I do with ETLs, clean ETLs, is I am a stickler for making things very much align in programming, this is called indentation. You want to make sure that things are really aligned to make it easier. You probably remember this in math class. You have to put equal signs stacked underneath each other when doing multiple formulas. Same exact concept. And why I do that is because it makes it easier to read from left to right. And it's just going to make it easier, again, in case somebody else takes on this ETL, they're going to not be so confused about it. So let's do an example. I pulled in this data set, and let's say I need to do a couple things to it. Let's say I need to do a select column right here, drag that sucker, connect that thing. I'll say all of them, I don't really care. And let's say I have to make this thing a text, sure, whatever. And I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to say all uppercase. Now, see what I'm doing? I'm making it go left to right. I'm kind of aligning things to be right on top of each other. What I hate seeing, I hate it. What I hate seeing is when people do this. Stuff like this. When I see it going back, I know I'm a stickler for that. When I see that happening, it drives me nuts. It drives me insane. NSYNC had a music video where they're just in a padded room. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like all 5 of them in the padded room, being like, what is going on right now? And drive myself crazy. And this just makes it a little bit trickier to read. Another thing that I hate seeing is when there's a lot of crossing over. When there's a lot of crossing over like this. Again, it's just harder for somebody to follow along what's happening. You don't want to do that. Just like in cooking, you don't want to make a mess. Keep your kitchen clean. Clean while you cook. That's going to be very, very helpful. But let me show you some, that's just me being a stickler. Let me show you some actual cool tricks. So the first thing that we can do is if I click this branch right here, I can change the color. And by changing that color, something so small that helps you kind of get your eyes trained to know, well, this is a new step in the process. And that will just make it easier for you to kind of follow along what's happening. Okay. Another huge thing that I do that a lot of people don't do, I utilize notes. So for instance, what I'll do here is in this formula, I'll click notes right here. And now I can type in, I could say added custom formulas to, what did I put in here? There we go, to round dates to the closest month. And look what happens. I get a little sticky note. So now if I hover over, I can see my note. This has saved me multiple times. By using that note, now when I go do the ETL again, or if I haven't seen it in months, honestly, it's like giving myself a clue. And now I can see exactly what happened. And I will tell you why this is so helpful. I have had to go look at ETLs that I've written months ago, and it's kind of like Hansel and Gretel. I need to just check the breadcrumbs to see what did I do, and I have to second guess myself a lot. Why did I do it this way? And it's really tough. But if I write notes to my future self, then it helps me move faster, understand what I'm doing, so I can be more productive. So that's how to clean up ETLs. Let's apply this to cooking. So just like in a data ETL, we want all our ingredients ready to go. Now, what we're going to go over is how to make a grilled cheese. And I'm going a little bit extra. I'm going to show you how to make your own bread and your own butter from scratch. You definitely don't have to do that. But if you do, you're going to be pretty cool. And your friends are going to love you. And you can introduce your friends to me. Then I'll finally have friends. And I will know what that feels like. So anyway, let's get to it. What you're going to need is first, obviously, some bread flour. We're also going to need some granulated sugar, some instant yeast for a bread machine. You're going to need a little bit of table salt. For the butter, all you're going to need is heavy whipping cream. And if you don't want to use that, you can use your own butter. For the bread, additionally, we're going to need some oil. This is grapeseed oil that I like to use. For grilled cheese, obviously, we're going to need cheese. So on the left-hand side, I have a sharp cheddar cheese. And on the right-hand side, I have a Munster cheese. Here's what I like to do. One cheese that has some bite to it, like the cheddar cheese, and one cheese that's super gooey, going to melt really, really easily. And that's why I like to use Munster cheese. So we're going to need a bread maker. This is mine that I like to use. For the butter, we're going to need a stand mixer with a whisk. You're going to also need a non-stick skillet and non-metal spatula, measuring utensils, a cutting board with a bread knife, and our secret, you're going to need a toaster oven. Now, for the bread, we're going to add our yeast. We're going to add some sugar, and we're going to add 1 cup of warm water. What's this is going to do is going to make the yeast burp. And by burping, they're going to start to make bubbles form. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir, close the lid for about 10 minutes, and come back. Now, after 10 minutes, we're going to see these bubbles forming, and it's going to be a little bit of a sour smell. Now we're going to add our bread flour, about 3 cups. You're going to add some salt, some oil, close it, and set your bread machine to the proper setting on the instructions. So I set mine for a, a light crust and a little bit bigger, 2 pounds. 3 hours later, your house is going to smell amazing. We're going to take our bread and we're going to let it cool down. Look at that. Look at that. All right, now it's time to get to work on the butter. All you're going to need is heavy whipping cream and a stand mixer. We're just going to pour our heavy whipping cream in. And just like data, we might need to transform one thing into another data set to then use it later. So what we're doing right now, we're transforming our ingredients. We're going to take heavy whipping cream, put on a low setting, and you're going to watch it magically turn from milk to whipped cream to butter. And what's happening is the fat is being separated from the water. That water is buttermilk, and you could dump that or keep that, whatever you want to do. I'm going to dump it once it gets to be more watery than I need, and then spin it back in. I want as much moisture out of this thing as possible. We're going to add some cold water to help extract the water inside the butter to go to the outside, hydrophobic, hydrophilic molecules. By squeezing it, we're squeezing the water out to go meet its friends on the outside. And we're going to smack it a little bit with a spatula to get as much moisture out as we can. And that's our butter. Easy peasy. Now we're going to take our bread and we're going to put our room temperature, nice and soft butter on one side of the slice. We're going to put it on a hot skillet, butter side down. As that's happening, we're layering on our cheese, our gooey cheese and our sharp flavored cheese. Then we're going to take these pieces of bread and put them in our toaster oven. Why we do this is because I want the cheese to be nice and gooey without the bread burning. You don't want to do it too long on a skillet. I'm going to set mine for a fairly low setting and for about 2 minutes. After that's done, we're going to take our bread, put it back on the skillet with some butter, and now as one unit, right? We took some ingredients, did some stuff to it, and now we're making it to what we needed to do. But we're not done yet. We got to make it look good. Just like dashboarding, if it doesn't look good, it's going to be hard for someone to digest. So no one's going to want to eat it. I'm going to add some coarse salt to this. And check this out. Oh, yeah. I like to fancy it up a little bit. I'm going to add some green onions. I love the color of the green with the orange of the cheese. And that's our grilled cheese. But look at this. While I was making that, I was also cleaning the kitchen in the background, putting things away when I don't need them. Same thing with data. I'm not putting in columns if I don't need them. It's going to bog down how much you use and make ETLs run way longer. So we're keeping a clean kitchen as we're going. I'm putting ingredients back. I am making sure I have space. Same thing with ETLs. That space can get cluttered really quickly. So you want to take your time with cleaning. So there you have it. That's the class. That's my quick intro into keeping a clean kitchen for data. We went over naming conventions, tagging, and ETL cleanup. But there's a huge payoff of why is this important. Let me show you. So if I go to my dashboards, I have something called an internal dashboard. And this is very, very interesting stuff. This helps me pull this in from Domo. I can say, how many rows do I have? Okay, how many users, how many cards have I made? How many dashboards have I made? Sure, all this you can get pretty easily. But one thing you can't get, which you can do from my specific naming convention, is because I had the word organization in there. Let me show you this. If I go here, I have my formula saying, hey, go find the word organization. Basically, we'll start from the left and go 14 letters in, which is organization plus the semicolon. And I want you to go all the way until we get to that pipe symbol. And now I can see where are my rows being allocated. Whoa, about 35% of my rows are going to be internal. Then 33 are going to training, XYZ going everywhere else. This is very important because especially if you're paying for rows, you want to know, are my main departments, my main customers, clients, are they the ones who are using the rows, or is this going to somebody else who is not paying me enough for the row allocation? And that's the payoff that you get from those naming conventions. It is so powerful. What I also have in here is I also have in my internal dashboard, I have, hey, how many rows did I add in a given month? So I can see the big spikes of what happened. Which culprit do I have that is the biggest data set that's taking up the most rows for me? Okay. Can I delete any of them? Which dashboards have had the most engagement over time? When was it? And I can even put in here by who is looking at which dashboard in which month. So I know that if I created something for them, that they're using it. And that has been a huge payoff because now I can go back to some organization and say, hey, you wanted me to make this for you, but you're not even using it. So what's the point? I'm going to go focus on somebody else who is using it. So with all that, I'd like to show you something. I showed you this at the beginning of the class where I have this special page for you where you can see my special SQL formulas. You can see this glossary of all chart types so that you can use it when you're designing your own dashboards. And how do you get to it? You can go to dashboarddudes.com/Domopalooza. And if you go to Domopalooza and give me your email, I will give you instant access to that secret page so that you can use it. Okay, so dashboarddudes.com/Domopalooza. That's where you want to go. It's going to be up for a little bit of time, and I hope it helps you out. In addition to that special page, what I have here for Dashboard Dudes is I have my own Domo course. So if you go to mine, you can see I have this bundle package right here where you can get my 101, 201, 301, and 401 classes. And here I have a lot of different material going over everything from here's just what an intro to Domo is, how to do some basic things, to all ETL functions and all chart types. And you're going to make a couple of dashboards with me. So you're going to see how I approach it. And we're going to go over governance. And in governance, you're going to learn how to do admin stuff and really cool and nifty features like how to use segments, variables, a lot of cool stuff. And for my current customers, what they're using this for is they use it as they go through the course, but they're using it as another guide. So when they need a refresher, they just go back to the course and there they go. They have it and they're able to use it. So I've been very, very happy with that. And I'm sending it to you too. So anyway, I hope that this has been fun. I hope that this has helped you out. Again, my name is John Lee from Dashboard Dudes. That's at dashboarddudes.com. And if you're interested, you can go to dashboarddudes.com/Domopalooza to go get your free access to your page. Anyway, good luck to you in your Domo career, your analytics career, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. My email is JOHN. I don't like any Johns that don't have an H in their name. JOHN.LE. I also don't like Lees that have two E's. That's why I have no friends. But it's JOHN.LE at dashboarddudes.com. All right. Thanks and good luck to you. Bye.